and welcome to My First Dungeon, the tabletop role-playing podcast that helps game masters learn new games and make each one better than the last. This season, we are diving into a game of time travel and cosmic horror. It is a game that was designed by our very own Elliot Davis, who is a producer of another game you might know from this very show, Something is Wrong with the Chickens. He has also written Abominations, Enemy vs. Lover, and is a writer on the 20-sided newsletter. Elliot, good to have you here.
It's great to be here. I'm always here these days, but it's nice to get one of the classic Brian Flaherty intro treatments. It's fun.
Isn't it fun? Isn't it great?
It's been a while. That's kind of how we started, like just about a year ago was me coming on and getting it as a stranger. And now I'm here as a producer.
Since then, you've put out a couple more games, including Project ECCO.
What's that?
I was going to ask you the same thing. Why don't you tell me, give me a log line. What is Project ECCO?
Project ECCO is a solo time travel game. It's a solo journaling game, but with a twist in that you play it across the pages of a full year planner. So it is a game in which you are an agent tasked with tracking down this mysterious, time-consuming entity, and you take that adventure through a planner, traveling forwards and backwards in time, and sometimes getting caught somewhere in between.
It is extremely cool. For anyone who hasn't seen it, you should definitely check out some of the artwork and the game.
Layout is pretty cool.
And the layout. Who did that layout, man? Who did that?
Brian did that layout. And he did a great job.
Brian did the layout. He did such what a lovely boy he is. So Elliot, Project ECCO is a solo journaling game. And for anyone out there who doesn't know what a solo TTRPG would look like, they're used to playing, game master player. What is a solo tabletop role-playing game?
So a solo RPG often takes the form of a solo journaling game. It's not the only form of solo RPG. There are some that are more crunchy and emulate some typical tabletop things. But what Project ECCO falls into the umbrella of is a solo journaling game. It has its own twist, but the principles still apply. And what a solo journaling game offers you is some kind of gamified, randomized way, systematic way of experiencing a series of prompts that you respond to in order to create a story, tell a story, create an experience broadly. Somebody might disagree with that definition. That might not apply to everybody who is a solo journaling game, but roughly there is some kind of systematic, often randomized way to discover a set of prompts that help you tell a story.
This is a solo role-playing game, so we need a solo person to play it. And that someone is none other than our very own Abby Hepworth. Abby, how's it going?
Hey. Oh my God, hey.
Oh my God, hi.
Oh my God, hello.
Long time no see, guys. Oh my God.
Splash.
Splash.
Wait, no.
No, not Splash.
Abby, welcome. I know for our Anamnesis season, the last time we did a solo role-playing game on this show, you kind of came in as kind of the passive player. Like I kind of played the active player and you kind of played a voice to play off of. Mm-hmm. Other than that experience, I don't think you've ever played a solo TTRPG before. Am I right?
No, I haven't. I find the concept like when I first learned about the concept in general, I thought it was fascinating and so cool. But outside of, kind of watching you play Anamnesis, I have not gotten to do it myself yet.
So this will be very fun. So, I mean, the first question, you both know this very well, being veterans of this very show. But the first thing we want to do before we kind of dive into what the game is, how we play it, and how we make a good game is, what are you, Abby, most nervous about going into this game? Or what do you feel least comfortable with compared to other types of games?
I think the thing that is both exciting and nerve-wracking about it is the aspect that it's solo, it's individual. I think that I'm a person who thrives creatively when I have people that I can bounce off of, and that you feel kind of the energy of the room. It's why I don't do well with working from home.
That and the cats.
Yeah. I'm the biggest pushover in the world with the cats specifically. But yeah, so I wouldn't even necessarily call it nervous. I'm just like interested to see how I do I don't want to get too much in my own head, but I also want it to be fun and interesting, of just sort of leaning on just myself with, which I also think in a normal context, if you're playing a solo game, that like it's only for you. So as long as I think it's interesting and fun, it doesn't matter. And this has a slightly different twist in that I'm also hoping that all of our listeners find it interesting and fun. I hope our tastes match up.
And you will have a little bit of help in that the same way that you were kind of the passive player for me, I'll kind of be your second voice should you ever want something in this game. Because we are kind of adapting a solo game for a audio medium, we will have a bit of back and forth in any scene that you think would be worthwhile to have a second character in.
So we got the training wheels
production
on.
specifics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got the training wheels on. So we'll see how we kind of make this immersive, improvised audio drama. But before we get into any of that, Elliot, can you take me... I know this story quite... Actually, you know what? I don't know if I fully know this story now that I think about it. Where did the idea for this game come from? Like, what was the first seed of Project ECCO?
It's a great question, because I don't know that I can identify... Like, with Abominations and Chickens, I feel like there was, like, those like moments where the idea came and I just was like very obsessively like writing it. But this game was like a nugget of an idea for a long time, where it was just like, I discovered solo role-playing games. I picked up 1,000-Year-Old Vampire. I discovered Sam Lee's Anamnesis. And I just thought that it was, you know, I was thinking about like, oh, like I need to buy a journal to play these journaling games. And then something occurred to me of just like, oh, what if you like used a planner to play one of these games? Like, what would that add to it? And then it was just this little nugget of an idea of like a planner, journaling game, time travel. And that's what it existed as on this note on my phone. That's just like one line ideas that is full of bizarre shit, as just like time travel planner game. And that's all it was for 6 or 8 months. And then, Brian, where you come into the story is we at one point had coffee and I was kind of telling you about some ideas I was having. And that was an idea that I like threw out there as something I'm kind of interested in. But I kept saying like, oh, I don't know how to crack the mechanic on it. I don't know how you mechanically are going to move through this. I was like, is it like a D12 months? Like there were all these like random things that I thought might work, you know, 52 cards, 52 weeks, blah, 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 blah. Couldn't figure it out for the longest time. So it just existed. And then we talked about it. You really responded to the idea. So I got more serious about figuring it out. And then the aha moment of the game that led it to actually becoming a game was different mechanics within the game being the different devices. And that's when it finally became like, oh, this is an idea that I can actually see through and I can make. It's not just going to live as this note.
Mm-hmm.
So before we dive into those devices and the actual like mechanics of how you travel through time, I think it's worthwhile to take a step back and look at how does this game end? Like, what is the ultimate goal?
So there are 2 possible directions the game can go, and you track these via a clock. For folks who've played games like Blades in the Dark, you'll recognize something that a lot of tabletop designers really love, the clock. And you have a clock on your character sheet. It has 6 little slices on either side. One side is for tracking your encounters with the entity, which is the object of your mission. You are tracking the entity. This is what you've been assigned to do. This is if you are fully in line with the agency's motivations, this is your primary goal. But on the other side of the clock, you have 6 pie slices to track your encounters with the agency, with your employer, the one who sent you on this mission, because throughout the game, you might encounter returns to the agency headquarters as well. And if you reach 6 in that side first, then that takes you in a different endgame path. And within those 2 endgame paths, entity and agency, there are 3 potential final prompts for each that are dependent on your coin, which is a whole other mechanic, which this is like, when you start to explain this game in audio, I'm like, man, what a convoluted shit show this game is. But when you got it in front of you on paper, it's a little easier to follow. But Abby, you're digging into a beefy one for your first
I
solo
feel like
game.
that's so true of like so many games though.
Yeah.
Of like when you first start, I saw some tweet online that I thought was really funny. Of it was within the debate of like, is 5e Dungeons and Dragons actually that easy to learn and accessible, or is it just that there's tons of resources? And somebody was like, you know, you all lying to me, like filling out your character sheet doesn't feel the same as filling out your tax forms. And I was like, you're not wrong.
Yeah.
Like, it gets involved. And so I feel like this is just, it's one of those where you try to look at it all at once.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, this is a lot.
Right.
But once you're like playing, you only need to do one thing at a time. And so it's fine.
Yeah. And it builds on itself. The game gradually builds on itself. You only start with one device. You only start with so much information. And it's sort of a game that's meant to be explored as you experience it. Or you can try and read the whole thing and then play, but then your brain might get a little mushy.
I feel like that's not my, like, even if I attempt to do that, I feel like my brain won't necessarily hold on to all of it,
Right.
knowing that I'm going to play it and have to relearn it anyway. My brain's like, yeah, you'll figure it out later, girl. Like, don't try to do this to us right now.
This game does have very much a vibe of legacy games, like, Risk Legacy or Yazeba's Bed and Breakfast, where things are unlocked as you keep playing. Because in this game, you only start with your coin and your first device, which is the watch. And then as you play and as you move through time and as you complete more and more prompts and stuff, then you slowly gain access to additional ways to travel through time, which give you more or less control depending on the device, and also have more or less consequences depending on the device. And so I think there's a really fun aspect of discovery. Like, I would honestly advise, as someone who's like very familiar with this game, having done the layout, having done 10 plus versions of the layout, if you go into it only with the knowledge that comes in the first couple of pages, like the introductions and the information around the first device, it is a very fun experience to like continually find new devices as you are traveling through this game and like slowly unlocking new sections.
Like a little treat each time.
It's an interesting thought, because I was recently thinking about something I want to like write about the game, like in terms of maybe an article in the newsletter or maybe just like a tweet thread or something. And without getting into it, in case I do write it. But my thought was, are spoilers a thing in this game in what I was thinking about writing about? And I think that yes, like it's kind of like yes asterisk, like to get the most immersive experience, I guess I would say, like I wouldn't read the entity encounters, I wouldn't read the agency encounters, and I wouldn't read the endgame section at all before you play. I mean, if you want to skim through the devices, like, and read those prompts, like that won't be as quote unquote spoilery. But like, if you want that, like, ooh, what kind of experience, then, avoiding those big sections, I think, yeah, it kind of is spoilery, and you could get more out of it by avoiding them. And
I think, luckily, Abby, I don't think you've read through the entirety, like towards the end. I think you've only looked at the first part. So this week we'll actually kind of be playing in that.
Yeah, it's funny because with Brian doing the layout, I have seen pretty much every page, but haven't read basically any of it.
Yeah.
It was very much like a, do you like using this color gray here, shade of gray, or do you like, should I move this into two different pages? Does it look too cluttered? Should the font size be bigger? But so it was like all visual, like looking at a piece of art and not like reading it. So I've seen a lot of these pages and they look incredibly cool.
Just shapes.
Not a clue. There's no context.
Yeah.
Like I don't, no idea. I think I've read maybe the first couple of pages or certain things. One or two devices I think I read a little bit of, but yeah, I'm going to get that spoiler-free experience.
Woo-hoo.
No spoilers.
I love a spoiler. No spoilers is like motto of our house.
No, it's your motto.
It's true. It's
Brian
my
thinks
motto.
everything is a spoiler.
Everything kind of is a spoiler. Like if you say anything about a piece of art, it is in some way a spoiler. Like sometimes I truly want to go into something knowing nothing. That's why I've had some of my best like media experiences when I came in not knowing anything and got totally blown away.
Like I feel sad that I will never get the experience of sitting down for a game of 10 candles and not knowing how that's gonna like go. I mean, from the start, like you have a consensual conversation about everybody dying, but not knowing the game so inside and out, I think I have a sadness that I will never get that.
It broke my heart the other day when Brian told me he'd never watched My Cousin Vinny, but knows like the scene. And I was like, no, because watching it when you don't know what's coming is just so glorious. Yes, that like no spoilers.
Brian, how have you not seen My Cousin Vinny? For our audio only audience, I just had my mouth agape for half the time Abby was talking because Brian's a movie guy.
Everyone's got
I
their
know.
weird little
That's
gaps,
fair.
and that's one of my
You
weird
are
little
such a
gaps.
movie guy, and every once in a while there are specific, like you love rom-coms and you've never seen My Big Fat Greek Wedding.
Brian.
It's true.
Elliot's just shaking his head. There's like very
You know what
funny
it is?
little gaps of things where it's such a surprise to me when I learned, where I'm like, what do you mean you haven't
I
seen
think a lot of
that?
those. I think a lot of my gaps come from like the people who first evangelized them to me. I didn't like. So I do remember the first person who was like obsessed with My Big Fat Greek Wedding.
Yeah.
I was just like,
Have you seen When
if
Harry
you
Met
like
Sally?
It can't be that good.
Okay.
Oh, I love When Harry Met
See,
Sally.
this is why, because I feel like I knew that about you, and like those two movies exist in this same like ethereal cloud in my brain. As
That's
for me,
funny.
it's When Harry Met Sally and You've Got Mail.
oh yeah, that too for sure. Anyway,
Yeah. Back to Project.
this is not the dice pool. We have to remember.
This is not the dice pool. If you're wondering what the dice pool is, that's our Patreon, everybody. Head on over to patreon.com/myfirstdungeonpod. And for just $5 a month, you can get additional actual plays and extended episode talkbacks for all of our actual play episodes. But with that minor self-promotion out of the way, so we've kind of talked about that this game has a lot in it. And there's like a lot of like kind of spoilery, quote unquote, asterisk marks stuff towards the end. But let's talk about Abby's going to be opening the book. She's going to be making
Cracking
her character,
cracking
that spine, playing for the first time. Let's go through the very brief process of character creation and then talk through what you start this game with and what you need to know from the very beginning. And then the rest people can kind of discover on their own as they play the game. And just for reference, the character sheet fits very neatly and snugly on a bookmark.
It's maybe my favorite part of the game, that the character sheet fits on a little bookmark. I just ordered them
So cute.
a couple days ago. 500 of them come to my
So
house, and I'm just
cute.
going to swim in them. Anyway, so character
Aw.
creation. Before you get started playing, you make your agent. And character creation is just about a half page long. And the thinking behind this simplistic character creation is that this is a game in which you are doing a lot of character discovery as you play. So you'll see that on this page, when you go to create your agent, there are 5 things you know. One is you are agent blank. So you choose an agent number. And an agent number is either the real world current date, if you can't think of a date, or a date that you like, that you're feeling in the moment, written out as MMDD for our US folks, or DDMM for our European folks. The second thing you know is that you work for the agency. You have for some time, you are highly trained and have prepared for this exact sort of mission, and you have no memory of life before working for the agency. The third thing you know is that you have a coin in your pocket, feels familiar. This is your coin, your last defense against the instability of time travel. Don't lose it. We'll get into that a little bit more. The fourth thing you know is that there's a package waiting for you. You arrive after your first jump knowing exactly where it is. It is conspicuously placed but hidden to all but those trained by the agency, which is sort of up to your interpretation. And then the fifth thing is you know your goal. Track the entity, document its effects on time and space, and, should you figure out how, save time itself. And you'll notice that the only choice thing in that list of 5 is your agency number. Everything else is just a little bit of info about what you know to start. So I guess, Abby, is there a particular date that speaks to you as what you would make your agent number?
Well, I was gonna say we could just pick today's date, but actually I think it would be somewhat funny to pick tomorrow's date, because then it would be Agent 0707.
It's 007. Oh,
That's good.
man.
That's good.
Which is just like really convenient for the sake of comedy.
007.
That is
Fuck
good.
me.
It is also, fun fact, my girlfriend Claire's birthday tomorrow.
Happy birthday, Claire!
Okay, Agent 007 0707. Fuck,
Good.
it's so
It's good. I can't deny that it's good.
I was like, even if I go with my birthday, 00123 is also fun. But when you just have the opportunity to be 007, why wouldn't you want to be?
So we've got Agent 007.
Agent 007. Also, the character sheet, well, for physical purchasers of the game, you can get the physical copy of the bookmarked character sheet, but also the back of the book, the very last page, has a picture of the character sheet, and you can it's a pretty simple layout that you could copy onto, a small piece of paper and fold it as a bookmark, or just copy the necessary things. Really, there's 5 things on the character sheet: your agent number, whether you have your coin or not, your inventory, your end game tracker, and then a big notes section on the back. So print if you have a printer that you like, but you can also just make one out of a sheet of paper, which is what some of the playtesters did, which was great.
Cool.
So we have Agent 007. We know what she knows. What is in the starting inventory for someone who is playing this game?
So you will have, the first thing you'll have, which isn't in the inventory section of your character sheet because it has its own section, is your coin. You'll have a little circle on your character sheet where you can keep your coin placed on it to show yourself that you currently have it in game. And I'll read you what the game tells you about your coin. Every agent has a coin. The humble coin serves as a final defense against timeline divergence, referred to commonly among agents as the time storm or simply time hell. And so the coin is this in fiction thing that every agent carries in order to protect themselves against what the game calls timeline divergence. The idea being that at various points in the act of time traveling, you will face moments where 2 timelines split in front of you. And the only way to stabilize that into one is to flip your coin, heads or tails, and decide which timeline is real. Without your coin, you essentially get sucked into the crack between those 2 timelines and experience timeline divergence. So this is a standard thing all agents carry. This isn't canon in the text, but I like to imagine that everybody has a different sort of coin that's very personal to them, sort of like a Hitchhiker's Guide towel situation. And so how does this come into play in the game is that throughout the prompts that you face in the game, there will be some prompts that have options labeled H or T, heads or tails. And when you face a prompt like that, if you have your coin, you'll give it a flip, whichever the choice is, that's the prompt you answer on that date. But then there's also a third option on all those prompts, which is lost coin, in which you experience timeline divergence. It's its own special event with prompts. That will happen throughout play based on certain prompts that tell you that you lose your coin. And that's sort of a random, luck of the draw. You might encounter a prompt where you lose your coin, and that could happen in a variety of different ways. So that's the first thing that you start with, is you start with your coin.
Can you regain your coin? Can you find your coin?
Every time you have a lost coin and then you experience timeline divergence, when you come out of timeline divergence, you always have your coin back in your pocket.
Got it. Okay.
So it's you answer the special event prompt timeline divergence, which is its own rollable table. And when you come back, you have it back, is the idea.
Okay.
The other thing you start with in your inventory is the first of our 7 time travel devices, which is the watch. So the watch is the first device you have in your inventory, powered by a single 6-sided dice. When you begin traveling in the planner, you will use the watch as it's the only device available to you. And to do that, you roll that 6-sided dice, you get a result. So let's say you roll, you get a 3. You can then take that 3 and modify the current month or day, either adding or subtracting, in order to travel to a new resultant date. So let's say you start playing this game. Well, I know you're playing this game on the 8th of July.
Mm-hmm.
So if you rolled a 3 and you're like, oh, I think I want to make a big jump for my first jump, you could subtract 3 from the month and get 0408, April 8th.
Okay.
So then you would flip through your planner from your starting date, which would be July 8th, to April 8th. And then you would take that 3 and you would match it to the list of prompts on the watch pages. And that prompt is, there lies a victim surrounded by loved ones. What about them has been changed, taken, or controlled? And you would respond to that prompt on that first date. And then you would keep using the watch until you discover a new device. And then you would carry on traveling with whichever device you wanted from your inventory from that point on.
Very cool.
And for instance, within the possible prompts for the watch, if you roll a 4, the prompt is, there is a device, a new way to travel through time. Flip to device discovery on page 20 and roll for a new device. So you're always going to be like slowly accumulating these additional ways to travel, which all have their own positives and negatives as you get. Some of them are like more powerful agency devices, and some of them maybe coming from less reputable sources.
Yeah, there's roughly in any given device, I think I haven't crunched the numbers, but like a 10 to 20% chance that you discover a new device using that device until you get to some of the weirder devices towards the end. But we won't. No spoilers.
No spoilers. So, Elliot, for this game, you're starting out with your character sheet, whether that is the bookmark that comes with the physical game or just a piece of paper you've set to the side. You're starting out with a coin that you can flip, or like a coin flipping app, at least. 1 6-sided die or some way to randomize 1d6. As you unlock more devices, and we'll kind of leave a bit of that mystery here so you can discover them on your own. What other items, physical items, might you need to play this game?
So as you play, and I think it's important to note that like you could choose to play without any of these additional devices. There's a world where you could play through this game just using the watch. It won't be as interesting because there's only 6 potential prompts, but you have everything you need to get to the end of the story with 1, 2, 3 devices. So if you don't have any of the following tools, like, you know, you can hold off on one, but I do recommend playing with the full set. That being said, as you play, you will discover that there are devices that need some additional play tools that are familiar to fans of TTRPGs, fans of board games. You'll need an additional 6-sided dice for a couple more agency-style devices, which you'll see. You'll need a deck of playing cards with the jokers removed, a standard set of playing cards for a device called the Season Shuffler. You will need a deck of tarot cards, which is for a device called the Temporal Spread, which is written by our friend and yours, Samantha Lee, who absolutely crushed the prompts for that device. So definitely hang out in that one. You'll need an additional coin for a little funky device towards the end. And then you'll also need a way to destroy the pages of your planner. And that might be thick black marker or a pair of scissors or fire. Fire. And those are just some of the ways. Those are actually all of the ways that you will continue to travel through time as you discover new devices.
And if you don't happen to have any of these things on you, there are great online tools for each of these things to draw cards, to draw tarot cards, to randomize dice.
There's tarot stuff too. Cool.
Discovered, thanks to Bojack Norseman in our Discord, who asked me for a digital tarot solution. So then I was able to find a great little playingcards.io setup for tarot cards. So if you want to grab that link, you can come check out our Discord, or if you harass me on Twitter, I'll send it to you.
And we'll try to put it in our show notes as well.
That's the place for it to go.
Midnight Muscadines is a cozy, dark tabletop role-playing game where light and shadow intertwine in a fractured world. Players take on the roles of marmoteers, brave adventurers who journey into the untamed wilderness to collect the elusive Midnight Muscadines, craft magical jams, and protect the fragile light of Nim. Through collaborative storytelling and resourceful gameplay, players weave tales of courage, community, and the pursuit of balance. Will you preserve the light, uncover the truths hidden in the shadows, or reshape the balance of the world forever? Midnight Muscadines is perfect for fans of Studio Ghibli and Sea of Stars, who seek to capture the magic of exploration and the heartfelt adventure in a world where small heroes make a big impact. Play Midnight Muscadines as a traditional GM'd game, GMless, or even solo. Midnight Muscadines is crowdfunding now on BackerKit. Join the campaign at pandeongames.com/muscadines.
I'm Quinns of tabletop role-playing game review show Quinn's Quest, and this is Play to Find Out. Play to Find Out is an actual play podcast that brings notorious old games from the 80s and 90s back to the table. Each season of Play to Find Out, I'm joined by Emily Johnson and Rob Morgan.
Good? Nervous?
Yeah.
You both looked at each other really concerned, like you think what's about to happen is going to be unpleasant. And frankly, I think that's rude. And together, we explore the TTRPGs of ages gone by. Our goal, to separate the TTRPGs that deserve to be remembered from those that maybe don't. I don't know, Emily. It was the 80s.
Also,
A
how
lot
do
of
you
people
know?
were on cocaine. We blow the dust from decrepit systems to learn how they work. Your 100 on the encounter table bursts out. Right, you've encountered a bug. Get ready. Don't laugh.
Does one get ready for a fog?
Don't laugh. Encounter their unique quirks.
I do finger guns to cover up how I wince.
A weird thing happens as you do finger guns.
Oh no.
And I'm hoping that the Quinn's Quest community will join us in exploring these games too. If you this up, cannot describe to you how much your adventure ends here.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because the best way to learn is to play to find out. Play to Find Out is available now on the Quinn's Quest Patreon, but the first episode of each series streams for free on the Quinn's Quest YouTube channel and wherever you get your podcasts. Anyway, you failed the Earthtech roll, and you made jokes while I was doing my exposition, so you don't get to hear any more.
Oh, no. Come on.
I was shook as...
So we know now we've created Agent 007, 0707. We know that she's starting with a coin. She's starting with the watch, which is a very simple time travel device in this game. We've talked a little bit about what happens when you lose your coin and when you encounter timeline divergence, which is a separate roll table on within the game that you may have to face some more interesting prompts. There is also a portion of this game where you may lose some dates. You may have to destroy some aspects of time. Can you talk about the consumption of time in this game?
Yeah, so kind of going back to the premise of the game is you've been assigned to track down this entity that the agency has dubbed the entity of chronological consumption and obfuscation, or ECCO. That's where the game gets its name.
Oh my God, it's the name of the game.
He said
They said the thing.
He said the thing. There it is, the Dune.
And so the idea is that this entity is actively consuming time itself. And so the premise being that you are traveling within the year specifically of this planner, because this is one of the only not fully consumed years left. So on either side of it, the imagine is that the dates have already been consumed. But as you're traveling through the planner, dates will also get consumed as you're playing. And so how do you signify a consumed date? This is kind of up to you. The game makes a couple suggestions. You might get a big, thick black Sharpie and just scribble out a date to indicate it's consumed. You might write consumed. You might draw a scary picture if you're artistically inclined, or you might rip or tear or burn the page if you're feeling especially crazy. I can't recommend lighting your planner on fire, but you do you.
We're not officially recommending that, but
I'm not officially, but it would be dope. Yeah. So how does this continue to happen as you play? There's a few different ways that happens. One of which is that you can play with this optional rule of setting a timer while you play. And every real world hour, you roll 2d6, and that many dates have been consumed. You also have to consume dates every time you get to an entity encounter. You also have to consume dates every time you use the device, the bell. And yeah, I think that's about it. So there's a number of events throughout the game that will tell you to consume dates, and then you will do that action of scribbling it out, tearing it out, burning it out. What dates should I consume when told to consume dates? I hear you asking.
hey, Elliot, what dates should I consume when told to consume dates?
Oh my God, what a great question. So
It just popped into my head. It's wild.
It's wild. So this is fun because this is your opportunity to sort of step into the cosmic shoes of the entity that you are tracking and think about, like, if you are this all-consuming being, what dates are you going to eat? Do you want to go from both ends? Do you want to eat like from January 1st, eat from December 31st? Do you want to just flip to random pages and eat? Do you want to eat dates around near where the agent is? Do you want to create that feeling of closing in? It's sort of like the only time in the game that you shift perspective a little bit outside of your agent is when you are choosing what dates.
So do you recommend that I have a method to the madness of consuming dates, or is there would it be a viable option to kind of roll a 12-sided die to get the month and then pick a random, do full chaos random?
I think one of the times I played in testing, I went for just fully random, and I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that then, with fully random, then when I was traveling later, I might see them as I'm going through. Whereas if you do the ends of the year, you might make your way to the ends of the year, but it's also not necessarily likely, depending on where you start.
Okay.
I also played, when I was playing it, I played random dates. I would just Sharpie out, or I would scribble out with a pen. And it was fun, as you're flipping back and forth, literally passing over top of consumed dates.
That is
There's
cool.
even there's even some fiction to be had from that. You're time traveling through, and all of a sudden you're encountering turbulence or something as you're going through empty pockets.
You get a
of
lot
time.
of choice in how you time travel with a lot of the devices, but there are some circumstances where you might end up on, there's only one option of the date that you can travel to. And if you are traveling to a consumed date, that does also lead to timeline divergence. The idea being that you go to land on a date. So if you have those sort of randomly scattered throughout as you are consuming them, there's more kind of hazards, that sort of feeling.
Okay, cool.
And you could consume dates you've already written in, but generally I feel like people don't want to lose the stuff they've written unless there are certain situations where it specifically tells you to do so. But you could also be destroying dates that you're traveling in if you want to just feel like it's chasing you. It's sort of choose your own adventure.
That is a fun idea of having it chase you. Yeah. That is kooky. I dig it.
So there are a bunch of prompts for the various devices. There's prompts for timeline divergence. There's prompts for agency headquarters. But a thing you'll also encounter in any planner or any kind of calendar, regardless of where you are in the world, every planner always has important, significant dates already pre-assigned. And this game also takes that into account. Can you talk about the special events and the dates of significance in this game?
Yeah. So the special events, like you mentioned, we've already talked about 3 of them. We've talked about timeline divergence, agency headquarters, and entity encounters. The 4th kind of special event is sort of what I call in the game supplementary prompts. And so the dates of significance take some common holidays, as well as some dates that are specific to the game, some which were inspired by our backers who backed at a certain level. And the idea being that if you buy a planner and it's got, so the most recent one is July 4th, right? Independence Day. So if you buy a planner in the US, you're likely to have on July 4th a little line that says Independence Day. And what the dates of significance in this game endeavor to do is make those days have some extra meaning and have some supplementary effect on how you respond to a prompt on that day. So for the July 4th, which is maybe the first one you would encounter traveling around this time, it says, incorporate one of the following words into your response: explosion, empire, or hot dog. And so most of the holidays on this list are that kind of direction where it's here's 3 words, try and incorporate one of them into your writing, just a very subtle supplementary. Some of them get a little funkier in how they modify how you're traveling. On the list of defined dates of significance, there are a number of common US holidays, holidays that are common to me as the writer. There's also space for defining your own holidays if you come from a different country or culture and you want to define some of your own holidays. But in addition, there are also a few dates in here that are specific to the game, either specific to the fiction of the game or specific to the game because of a tier that some of our backers were able to support us at, one of which led to my personal favorite date of significance, which is Mike's 60th birthday surprise party on April 11th, which just tells you find yourself stopping by, seeing signs of, or being invited to Mike's 60th birthday surprise party, in addition to your other experiences on this day. So you might be tracking some extra dimensional beings, but you better also include in your prompt that you got an invite to Mike's party. So
this one's my particular favorite because Mike is my father.
That's Brian's dad.
That's my dad. So Dad, if you're listening, happy belated birthday. I was going to tell you on your birthday. I decided to wait until the physical book was out.
Somebody belated birthday is getting a shout out in this.
That's actually true.
In this episode.
It's weird that it
A
happened
lot of
twice.
birthdays.
Third time's a charm.
So Agent 007/Abby, what's also in this section is your dates of significance, which gives you a chance to define your own answers to some of these sort of prompted dates. And then also, if you want to either add or create additional holidays, there's space in the book for 6 of them, as well as rules for if you wanted to define more than 6. But we can go through sort of the 4 definey ones first, if you want to do that right here on mic.
Sounds good.
So the first one is your initiation day, which is the date of your agent's moniker. So that's July 7th.
July 7th.
So when you get the game and it tells you to do this in the intro, it will direct you to kind of these pages to make sure that your planner is set up with all the dates of significance if you want to play with them. So you would go into your planner on July 7th and write initiation day so that you know if you travel back to that day that you experience that. The supplementary prompt for initiation day is if you've discovered your name, you forget it on this day. Otherwise, you forget one other piece of your identity you have discovered, which hints at a little bit of something that you might discover as you go through, which is your name and pieces of your identity, which is another sort of thread going through this game. The second one is a birthday. So this can be any birthday that you want to add into the dates of significance. It could be your birthday, it could be someone important to you.
Let's just go full selfish and do my birthday. 0123.
0123. It's a great birthday.
It's a great birthday. I think I've only ever met 2 other people in my whole life with that same birthday.
Good one.
Was it good?
No notes.
Yeah. No notes.
So the birthday acts like a holiday in the prompt where it says incorporate one of the following words into your response: wish, birth, flame. So you would note that in your planner as well for if you interact that. And then these last 2 I like a lot. These are my personal favorite, defining your own days of significance. They are a day you want to remember and a day you want to forget. And they are opposite in this way, where a day you want to remember, you assign in fiction some reason that day cannot be consumed by the entity. You don't really need to get into in fiction why it is, but that becomes canon and fact of your playthrough, that day cannot be destroyed. It is far too important. A day you want to forget is a day that is already consumed before you start playing. So you can go find that date in your planner and you can scribble the shit out of it. You can burn it. You can cut it out. So is there a day you want to remember and a day you want to forget? And you don't need to tell us why if you don't want to.
I think I'm gonna, for a day you want to remember, I'm gonna get real sentimental with it and do what will be our wedding anniversary.
Aww.
Will be cute.
Which, and in case the previous comment to this doesn't make it into the episode, the best thing about getting married to you is that this isn't the best thing. This is the most convenient thing. The most convenient thing about getting married is that your birthday is 123 and our wedding anniversary will be 4/5. So I will never forget either of those things. And it'll be really bad if I ever do.
At some point, we're gonna have to do something on June 7th.
Yeah, we'll find something else for 6/7.
Cool. So 0405, that date, mark it in your planner, cannot be consumed.
Cannot be consumed.
The power of love.
The power of love compels you. The power of love compels you.
Do you have a day you want to forget?
Day you want to forget. The practical part of me wants to go, because I have an old planner that I started using as a journal and then abandoned, and we'll be using that to play the game. And so part of me just kind of wants to be like, what days did I already fill in? And then I could just black them out because like there's no space to write in there anyway.
Sure.
But I want to come up with something that's like more fun. A day you want to forget. You know what we could do for some fun symmetry? Because I actually can never remember what day our dating anniversary. I never know. I always forget what it is. It's September something. It's you know what? Speaking of birthdays, it's our friend Caitlin's birthday.
So now you're offending 2 people by forgetting right now.
And what day is that, Abigail?
I don't know. The 18th? September 18th?
Is that your final answer?
It is not.
Do you want to just destroy a collection of dates around that area?
We're just gonna block out a bunch.
Just block out
a
that
bunch
week.
of it. I'm gonna go with September 18th, and it's gonna be fun, sort of ironic. I don't actually know if that's the correct day.
I'm going to write it down. Brian?
That works.
That is the correct.
Yay!
Yay! We now have your initiation day, which is 7/7, your A birthday, which is your birthday, 1/23, a day you want to remember, 4/05, and a day you want to forget, 9/18. Or is it just a day you tend to forget? Who knows? And then are there any holidays not included on the list that I shared? Because I put a smattering of holidays that I know and think about, but are there any additional holidays that you'd want to add into your play?
You've already got Thanksgiving, which is my favorite holiday.
And you'll notice that the prompt for Thanksgiving is incorporate food into your response on this day, because that is the central figure of Thanksgiving in my mind.
That's the entire reason that it's my favorite holiday. Is my mom is a phenomenal cook, and Thanksgiving foods are some of my absolute favorite foods. So that's why it's my fave. Additional holidays. I feel like I could do some of my like family members' birthdays.
Mm-hmm.
The only date that popped into my head was really sad and like capitalistic, and that it's the my work anniversary of like the day I was hired at the place that I work, which I feel like feels very, as I say, capitalism. But I I just know it very well.
Because that's an important day in a working
It is.
environment. Yeah.
I just want to be very, very clear right now. You very clearly remember your work anniversary, but our dating anniversary was
Anyway, you can
most of your
define
answer,
additional holidays off mic.
most of your answer was a pause.
Yep.
And yeah,
So we'll define some additional answers off mic, I think.
Sounds really great. Oh, Miss Halloween in here? We could do some Halloween. Yes, it is.
Halloween's. You think I wouldn't put Halloween in? What do you think? What do you think I'm doing?
I also have to say, I really love that Friday the 13th, just in general, any Friday the 13th is in there, because I love Friday the 13th.
Oh, yeah. Hell yeah.
If Friday the 13th wasn't already like an additional holiday, I for sure would have added that as one of my like bonus ones.
Oh, hell yeah.
But what's the prompt for it?
The prompt for it. Friday the 13th is inexplicable occurrences of the number 13 show up on this day, which really the dates of significance, you can see several ideas that I probably had for the rest of this game that I just wanted to like, these were all my like fun extra ideas, are the dates of significance. And also some cool
Where now the players
inspired
get
days from
do it.
folks. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We love getting all of our little gems and Easter eggs into a game.
Yeah.
So obviously, if you're following how many prompts are in this game, there's over 200 prompts in this game, and normally it's played out over 5 or 6 1 to 2 hour sessions. It's kind of like the median play time you've found while you were playtesting this. We're probably not in our actual play going to get to like the full end of a game, as in like either doing 6 agency encounters or 6 entity encounters. So just so you know what to expect, for our actual play, we're going to kind of play through until we come to some kind of like good stopping place, and then kind of leave a ellipses for this character. So we likely won't get to the end of this character's story, but we will find the end of a chapter.
You don't want to just do 16 hours of play and recording.
Let me be very clear. I'm not saying we won't complete the story. I'm saying we won't complete the story for this season, but there may be some additional stuff coming down the road, because after all, this is a game of time travel, and an episode of this could pop up at any time.
Ooh, you little sneak.
That's right, I'm committing to this. I'm committing to this bit right now.
The stone.
You wily minx.
And I think that's going to be great. I think that it'll be fun for me to hear a session treated as an arc, like really get to wrap my head around like a session of this game, because I mean, that is like the median play time, like through playtesting. But you know, when I played it, I sat down for much longer than that. And because I was obsessive.
Actually, I have a question kind of about playtime. With each of the prompts, is there a suggested like length of how much you should write or how much you should like create within each prompt? Is it like a couple of sentences, or is it really just open-ended for if you really want to take it and run with it, like go ham?
Yeah, I mean, No, there's not a recommended. And I would say that the reason why is that there's a variety of ways you could approach this, right? Like there's the way that you're going to be playing on Saturday where you'll have sort of this second voice to bounce it off. So you probably you'll be doing like kind of maybe like more like short writings to like remind yourself of what's happening. But that's also like a perfectly valid way to play alone. Like if you're playing for the active experience and you don't care that much about reading it back later, you could jot quick bullets down as if you're the agent, just like getting quick notes down while this crazy shit is happening. You can choose to write in their voice. You can choose to write as a narrator describing what's happening to them. Amount of writing is going to be largely dependent on the kind of planner you're using, like straight up.
Yeah.
I think that if you wanted to really get into like, I want to write like little chapters about this stuff or like multiple paragraphs, then you'd want to get like a 365-day planner, which would be dope. Right. Don't get me wrong. Like I would love it if somebody did that, but like the game recommends and I recommend a week planner because it gives you this nice middling amount depending on your handwriting size. And the game also tells you if you feel like your agent would stay somewhere for more than one day, you can carry over the story of the prompt you're responding to into another day.
Okay.
If you'd like to.
Nice. Okay.
And I know for when I played it, I basically limited myself to whatever I could fit in the day's like space for that day. So like it would end up being sentences, but like kind of internet speak of like sentences kind of without verbs sometimes.
More kind of like a quick note.
Yeah, very much. Very, very sparse. Very Hemingway. You know what I mean?
No,
when I was playing this
Oh,
game,
you were like Hemingway.
I was channeling Hemingway.
Yeah.
I was very much like Hemingway. Terse.
But my dream playthrough of this game, personally, and at some point I'll do this, is to play on a desk-sized calendar that you'd find in like an accountant or lawyer's office and draw instead of write. That is like my dream.
That is
my dream playthrough.
Extremely fun.
That is a fun idea to like draw illustrations in each box rather than doing anything.
That's actually in the official Project ECCO planner, because I want to play that way. One of the tips in the opening page is drawing is as valid as writing. Because my hope is that somebody plays that.
We're putting it out into the world. Someone
putting
play
it out
this
into the
game,
world.
all illustrations.
And then send me the pictures and I will gush.
Yeah.
So we're very much nearing the end of this conversation about getting started with Project ECCO. And Abby, we started this conversation by talking about what you were most nervous about or what was least familiar to you. Do any of those worries still hold, or have any new ones cropped up or any new confusions cropped up as we've talked more about this game?
No, I think if anything, I'm just like very eager and excited to honestly, the conversation around like spoilers and no spoilers is I'm like, I want to know. I want to know what the devices are. I want to know the things. I want to know the prompts. So I'm very eager and excited to just like dive in and have more of those. I think I am still a little bit nervous about, again, that solo aspect of that. So much of my creative energy, I think, comes from collaboration. But it was also encouraging, Elliot, you saying of that, like there's kind of no wrong way to take notes and to fill out these prompts of if I want to do it in like a third person bullet point situation, that's fine. And that similar to anamnesis, I feel like it's when you start out, of course, you don't know anything. Literally all I know is my name and I have a coin, and we will figure it out as we go. And that is the joy of it. So I'm honestly super pumped.
Hell yeah.
I will say, after having played Anamnesis and also feeling similarly to you that I believe myself to be a better collaborator than like solo act, having an extra person to bounce off of was extremely helpful. But also like the prompts and the tools that are given to you in this game and in Anamnesis and in other solo tabletop role-playing games are so potent. Like they give you so much to work with very few words, which is really like the joy and the magic of these types of games, is that they're just kind of idea engines
I mean,
to
like
get you
that's
started.
the point of them, right? Of like you're supposed to be playing it alone, and that the prompts and the structure and the artwork and just the whole game is giving you everything that you need to inspire and feel that sort of you're collaborating with the paper. Is that stupid?
I think it was like Sam was talking about this in the Anamnesis interview about how some people will talk about solo role-playing games and be like, well, it's not a game, it's a writing exercise. And Sam said something to the effect of like, Yeah, probably, but I'm not really concerned with whether it's a game or a writing exercise. Like and I can't remember exactly what they said, but it's like, yeah, maybe it's a writing exercise for you, maybe it's a game for you. Like there's not an invalid thing because it is a solo experience. You know, you get to
¿Por qué no los dos?
And ultimately, both those things are still states of play.
Yeah,
Abby, you good? You feel good? You ready to travel through time?
I do. Yeah, I am.
And that is all for this episode of My First Dungeon, Project ECCO. Next week, Abby will be entering the quickly dwindling time stream to see if she can stop the entity before the end of time itself. Before we go, Elliot, can you tell us where we can find you, where we can find this game, and also shout out all the other great people who worked on it?
Project ECCO is a collaborative effort of 5 different people who are all incredible creators in their own right. Me, Samantha Lee of Anamnesis fame, who you can find at Goblin Mixtape on multiple platforms. Will Yobst, who is at Will_Yobst on Twitter. I feel comfortable saying the best editor in the TTRPG game. You will find their name everywhere on every game. Go grab a TTRPG off your shelf and tell me Will's name isn't in it. I bet you're wrong.
It's wild. It's one of those things, once you start looking for it, it's everywhere.
So shout out Will. Will made this game so much better than it would have been without them. And I'm so grateful to have had them on the team. Of course, our layout designer, whose voice you hear all the time, Brian Flaherty, made this game look frickin' gorgeous. And everybody is really enjoying the visuals of it, thanks to Brian. And then the forthcoming, likely you're about to hear it in this episode, or you heard it at the top of this episode, the original soundtrack from Behold, aka Colin McClutchy, dear friend, incredibly talented musician. Those are the folks who brought Project ECCO to life.
What a dream team.
What a dream team. You can find me, maybe still on Twitter at this point in time, at More Bloobs. I'm at More Blueberries on Instagram and Threads, and I'm trying to get on Blue Sky, and social media's a crap show. You can find my games at moreblueberries.itch.io, and I don't think itch.io is going anywhere. And you can now grab physical copies of Project ECCO, the book, or the planner bundle at Indie Press Revolution, indiepressrevolution.com/xcart. You'll see it on the front page. Go check that out, grab it, support a really great store, Indie Press Revolution, and get your copy of the game.
And you can find all those links big and bold down below in the show notes. Abby, do you want to tell people where they can find you and what you're working on?
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, you can find me right here, baby. I'm doing all the things with My First Dungeon. If you want to hear me get real weird with it, you can head on over to Sounds Funny Radio, an improv comedy podcast that is everywhere where you find podcasts.
As Elliot said, Project ECCO is available now in digital form at itch.io. You can find the link to buy the game in the show notes below. And if you like it or grab a community copy, be sure to leave a review and a rating. As people leave more reviews and ratings and comments, more community copies will be added to itch.io. Elliot, through the crowdfunder and through just his own generosity, put like 250 community copies out for free of this game, and they've been completely depleted. I'm sure they've even probably been re-upped by the time this comes out. So please, the more you comment and like and rate the game, the more community copies get out there and the more people can grab this game, even if they can't afford it. And if you like this show and want to support even more great seasons, you should head on over to patreon.com/myfirstdungeonpod and jump into the Dice Pool.
Splash!
The Dice Pool, that is our Patreon tier where you get additional actual plays every single month featuring myself, Elliot, Abby, and Chinook Tessera, and also extended talkbacks for each season of My First Dungeon, and also some like surprise treats whenever we're feeling spicy.
Spicy treats.
If you want to support the show, that really is the best way to do it, and we really appreciate everyone who does. All of our little swimmers over in the Dice Pool.
All of our little swimmers.
Oh yeah, we're all gonna hate that.
Oh yeah.
This story isn't over, but time travel can be an unpredictable business. You'll hear from us again, or maybe you already have. Bye-bye.
What?
Whoa, go! If you're hearing this, that means you listened to every last second of this episode. If you're not caught up yet, that's great because then there's plenty more to listen to. But if you are caught up and you simply can't wait for the next episode, then you should head on over to patreon.com/myfirstdungeonpod and become a member of the Dice Pool. For just a few bucks a month, you'll get cast talkbacks, original games, and a full-length bonus actual play each and every month. As of the end of 2023, there is already over 20 hours of bonus audio, plus a whole bunch of other goodies to enjoy. So head on over to patreon.com/myfirstdungeonpod and jump into the Dice Pool. We'll see you there.